Christina Wong, she is a law graduate. She asked, how should a fresh graduate answer the question, how would you contribute to our firm or our company? How do you answer that? Hanie, can I get your views?
Okay, so first and foremost, my advice is that let us take a step back, and this is where delicious dilemma for a lot of fresh grads kicks in. Why I say this is delicious dilemma is because a lot of fresh grads have gone through their years in university. You know, they do a lot of CSR, they do a lot of extracurricular activities, they do a lot of things, and yet they could not articulate it in such a way that all these activities has built their personal growth over the years. It's understandable that they don't have so much of work experience, which is fine. That's why they go for internship. But they need to narrate it well. They need to script it well. You know, say for instance, if this fresh grad have done quite a number of extracurricular activities, so what role have you played in that setup, in that activity? Were you a team member? Were you a team lead? Were you a committee? Were you a president? If that has happened in all these activities, what it shows is that you've demonstrated leadership. So you bring all of these experiences with a script properly done, and that's what you're going to share and bring to the table, and you're going to share it with the panel interviews. So don't think that as a fresh grad you are offering nothing. No, you have all of this plus your beautiful personality to bring to the table. Talk about your strength. Talk about the activity that you've done. Talk about the projects that you've done with your lecturers, you know, with the orang as. It doesn't matter, but the way you narrate it is very, very important. That's why the preparation is crucial. So yeah, so coming back to the question, what am I going to tell my interviewer? What am I bringing to the table? So all this preparation needs to be done first, and then bringing all this strength to the table and say that I've done this, and I think I've demonstrated in throughout my years in the university that I've done this: leadership, team building, teamwork, resourcefulness. It's all there. It's all there. It's just how you want to take a look at it.
Yeah. Yes. And I think this is almost like, I mean, a no-brainer. You will definitely be asked this question, right? How would you contribute to our company? This is one of the questions we must prepare. And like what Hanie said, like it's putting all your thoughts, and arranging the script well, and going and presenting. And like what Encik Zul also said, if you have any visual aids to demonstrate, that would be great. Yeah, Encik Zul, would you like to add on to this question?
Yeah, I think as I mentioned earlier in the first session, it's also important to understand the company's vision, mission, and also the values, especially the vision and mission.
Yes.
Because from there you know how to fit in to the vision, and also to understand the JD, job description. You know, with the job description that being definitely you get whole of the job description. So understand that well, and also with the company's vision and mission, where you know where to fit in, where to contribute. So that shows that you have done your homework.
Yes.
And of course, another thing is there's a lot of, as mentioned by Hanie just now, I agree with Hanie. There's a lot of things that we learn from our life, which we think that there's no value, but actually those are the experiences that actually build us actually. Yeah. For instance, I did one of my posts mentioned stated about, imagine if 6 months from now, interview panel asks what were our achievement in our last job. Then of course we've been on MCO for the past few weeks already. So what have you learned from this process? For instance, if you're there's a lot of things that we learn actually, even though we are at home, we can learn from that can also build our character. How can by supporting the government, in the MCO. Not to say that staying at home you are doing nothing, but now during MCO you are get more disciplined. You now you learn about if you want to work at the hotel, now you learn about if you're male, you learn about housekeeping. So that's
toilets.
That's very interesting.
Agree.
Because if you work for executive and in hotel, you have to do everything. Not say that if you are at the front desk, you just stay at the front desk. You become the management at the hotel. You have to understand the whole process or functions in the hotel. So that actually built us to be a better person. Not even so. 3 or 4 years or 5 years in university, actually there's a lot of program activities that we have rejoined, which built us in terms of our capabilities, in terms of our that built our character, and also our what using that as an characteristic or capability that we have learned, then we can that's what or how we can contribute to the company for the next 5 or 10 or 15 years. We going to work with the company.
True. I think it's also important to demonstrate humility during interview process. Not snooty, not big or anything, but demonstrate some humility in the process at the same time. I think during this RMO as well, Encik Zulhaimee, I think one of the words that pops up in my mind every now and again is gratitude. Gratefulness. We realize Malaysians come together, and I think post COVID-19, some of the questions that I foresee will be asked is, what have you learned during this time? And I think there's no harm in saying that one of the things that has impacted the most in during this time is to say, I learned humility, or being grateful to the situation that I'm in. And I think that demonstrates some, we're being human, and we understand other people. And that puts us into the word empathy. We empathize to other people's situation. I think that gives you brownie points, and that sets you a little bit more apart from the other candidates, because it's not just about bringing your certificate, doing your 4 pointers and whatever else, but I think this is where attitude, like Che Zul was saying, this is the attitude, the X factor. We may not be able to articulate the X factor really well, but by saying all of this, the humanity part, I think that's very crucial, and that gives you, a little bit stands out more than other candidates.
Yeah, I think like what Hanie, you said just now, you have to show humility. Yeah, you can be humble, but you can be confident, but there has to be a line between confident and overconfident.
Yes,
because you don't want to come across as being overconfident. You need to be confident, but not overconfident. Then you may talk in an arrogant manner. So that there's a very fine line. Yes,
absolutely, I agree with you.
Okay. The next question comes from Nakwidin Nordin. He's got a question here. He says, I have a question about group interview. How do HR professionals evaluate the candidate? Is being actively participating considered good? And I heard that in order to succeed in the group interview, we have to work in a team and express leadership values. If all the members choose to be leaders, it would be chaotic, wouldn't it? Like what we said just now, right? Hanie, would you like to,
Yes.
Thoughts?
Yeah. Che Zul, you want to take it up first? I've got some thoughts about that, but
everybody's a leader.
In the first session we have discussed, like, we are leader in our own way. In fact, we are leader in a small group, but in a bigger group, we might be sub-leader. I'm not going to say follower, but sub-leader. Even minister is a leader. But then when it comes to the higher level, prime minister is the leader. But not to say that the minister is a follower. They are also leader. So so in that manner, how do we perceive? How do we conduct ourselves during the the group interview? So so the most important thing actually is how we address ourselves, how we articulate our ideas, and how we defend in a good manner our idea, to push through our idea, and at the same time how to support other people's idea, and not to condemn other people, because that will be very negative. So and then how to at the same time how to push our idea through. So that's very important, because it's not in a leaderless group doesn't mean that we've the panel would like to find a leader for the company, but actually it's more like who can work as individual contributor at the same time they can work well in a team. That's what my thought is.
Yeah, and I think another alternative word to this self-leadership is the power of influence. Because sometimes a manager doesn't mean that you're a leader. Or sometimes when you're a leader, what kind of leader you are. And I think it boils back to the power of influence, how you create impact and how you influence your team members to work with you. Everybody has one common goal, and usually during interview session, when the panel wants to observe leadership, just like Encik Zul said, sometimes it's not about having that leader to lead or a manager to manage. It's about working as a team and achieving towards that goal. Sometimes they throw you on board with 10 people and they give you one problem to solve. Within say 10 minutes, you need to come up with 1, 2, 3, 4. Usually towards the end is a presentation. So as a one of the team members, there are several challenges. Number one, you don't know any one of them, how the rest will work for you. So this is where the skills of influencing comes in, and your best communication methodology comes in, and your beautiful personality and being empathetic to the situation and being focused on the task in hand comes crucial. And I suppose there's no hard and fast rule, or there's no manual to this. I think it's just it takes practice, maybe some coaching, or feedback from your friends, from other people to give you to give you that feedback, to say that, hey, you know what, there's certain areas that you need to improve. That's my take on this.
Yeah, very good point there. You talked about influencing, the power of influencing. But I also think, just to add on to the question, that when you are in a team, you don't necessarily have to be loud to be a leader and to be heard. Yeah. You can still give your ideas, you can still be firm, but the most important thing is not to be silent, not to be quiet. You need to voice out your opinion. Even if you say, agree with someone, you have to say no, why, explain, give other options. So you are being observed, you are being evaluated. So show how you have these qualities to be considered, right?
Yes. Right on point.
Yeah. And the next question comes from Roshaliza Ahmad Sabri. She's a final year student. And she would like to know, what question should I ask during the interview process, right? And, sometimes the interviewer will ask, do you have any questions? So what question should I ask? And as a fresh graduate, how do I market myself? That is the question. Those are the two questions. What question should I ask? And how do I market myself? Encik Zul, would you like to give it a try?
Maybe Hanie?
Oh, Hanie.
Okay, so you join me in adding more points, yeah?
Okay.
Yeah, I think one of the key questions is to understand the measurement of success for a role that you're coming in to be interviewed for. If the role or if the job is ABC, for instance, I give an example, administrative assistant. One of the key questions that a candidate can ask the panel or the interviewer is this: what is your expectation for this role? How do you see success for this role? I think this is one crucial question that needs to be asked. Practice to ask this question and listen to the answers given. So that's number one, the first part of the question. The second part of the question is how do you market yourself being a fresh grad? Wasn't it?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so the fact remains nowadays that if one does not exist in the world of social media, you don't exist. Unfortunately, that's it. You know, gone are the days when we say, oh, let my work speak for itself. That's so long time ago. We need to exist somewhere in a space. It can be any of the social media, you know, like the, of course, LinkedIn, Facebook, gotta be careful, Instagram, depending on what you're doing. Simply because that a CV or a resume only tells you one layer of your personality or one layer of you. You have so many layers. You have so many perspectives as a person. It's like a diamond, you know, with so many angles to see. So a resume is only a sheet of paper that a person can only see from one perspective. So using the medium of social media, like LinkedIn, for instance, gives that opportunity for other people to see you from a different perspective. How well do you write? What sort of other extracurricular activities that you're involved in? Yeah, granted that you're fresh grad, but you're involved in some other activities. It demonstrates resourcefulness. It demonstrates self-confidence. And the way you respond, not react, the way you respond to some other comments, for instance, gives that idea or perspective for potential employers to kind of see or perceive what sort of a person you are. So how do you brand that? Unfortunately, that's the way to go nowadays. You can't be a silent reader, or because I don't write because I can't write well, or I didn't speak well. Doesn't matter. Some people, they just bulldoze, you know. So what? You practice. You practice well.
Yeah.
Jezol, you want to say something?
Yeah, that's why I think it's more like it's more of a personal branding. That's why I think Hanie should be the best person to answer that question. But I would like to add to that. In fact, on the first question, what to ask the panel after the interview, I think Hanie mentioned just now about expectation from panel or from the company. I would like to add also at the same time, you know, since you've been there, why not you ask the panel what or how for you to improve? You know, not to say that you are not successful, but you know, maybe honest opinion from the panel, what you do well, what you're not doing well, so that if you get the job, then fine. But you don't get the job, then at least you have the perspective from the professional, from the panel, for you to improve in your next interview. As I said earlier, you are not to say that you are not good, but maybe sometimes, you know, you are not, maybe you're not fit for the job, or maybe you are maybe you lose some of the key points that, you know, the panels are looking for, which by getting the free advice from the expert, and then at least it's worthwhile, you know, spending time and also your money going for attending the interview. And then another thing is about the next question, how to market yourself. I think I have to echo Hanie just now. In fact, it's a very important nowadays because now companies are also looking for how they will do check on you. They will also search on the internet, on the social media, how you what's your reaction, what you posted in the social media is very important. So even though people might say that that's my, that's what I'm doing out of office hours, so the company cannot interfere in that. But of course, you are becoming the employee, so they want to know what kind of person you are. So you have to be really careful in that. And also to market yourself just now, I think Hanie mentioned it well. So you have to be you have to write you have to write your post, you have to share your comments so that you are visible, and so that that would increase your personal branding in the job market.
Yes. It's always about brand recall, Che Zul. It's a brand recall. So the brand is you, and people need to recall you as a brand when they think of a position. It gives them a better perspective. Appealing of different layer of you when you bring yourself to an interview.
Yeah. I think
last time you used to.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I think a lot of final year students now are very smart. They are using LinkedIn. They have an account and they're quite active on it. And to those who are not active, I think this is a good time to create a good profile for yourself and start putting in all the things you've been doing. And also, like what Hanie said, write posts, comment on other people's opinions, right? Do it properly, not to offend anyone. It's time to do all this now.
Positive comments.
Positive comments, yes.
And I think talking about questions that you can ask the interviewer, a very important question, the taboo topic, salary. When should it be brought up?
Definitely not in the first sentence. So I don't know whether you've encountered this in your years of sitting in as a panel interviewer, but I've been doing this for quite a long while, and I'm just amazed that this question comes out first. And I was asked by a few candidates, the first question they will ask is, so how much are you offering for this job? First question. Number two, can I go back at 5? Number 2. Number 3, how many days do I get as an annual leave? I don't even know you, what you're going to bring to the table yet, and yet you're already bargaining, you're putting down your bargaining chip. I think this question should come in a little bit later. This is sort of like a dance. I treat this like a dance. Let's get to know each other first. And usually the first question will come out is, tell me about yourself. This is a very simple sounding question, but very crucial. We need to address this really well. A well thought of answer, step by step, to sell yourself. And obviously, to my mind, the questions the questions such as salary, package, benefits, annual leave and things like that can be asked, but towards the end, when the panel or the interviewer asks you, do you have any other question? So here's the tips, and I think these tips has worked well throughout the years that I've been career coaching a lot of people. We do not go answering this question heads on. We don't ask this question by saying, okay, how much is your package? We don't ask that question. We don't ask that way. Perhaps a better way to ask this is, may I discuss with you on the package of this role? So yes, no. If it's no, then okay, don't push yet. This might be another opportunity opportunity to ask from the recruiter. If the answer is yes, we can discuss this, then the next question is, instead of saying, I expect minimum 1,008, 2,005, whatsoever, no, why are you putting yourself in a box? So my suggestion is to say something like this. It may sound something like this. What would be the benchmark package policy for organization for this role? So instead of saying I want this much, but you're coming back, you're giving back the ball to the court of the interviewer by listening what has been budgeted. Every role has been budgeted. Every company has a budget for this. So instead of I want this, so like ask the question. So what's the salary benchmark for this role? Usually interviewer will say, hey, you know, this between this and this. But it also comes back to the homework that you've done. Check out salary benchmark. Check out salary benchmark. What's being offered, you know, what's the minimum, what's the median, what's the maximum an industry is paying. So you will know what you are asking at the back of your head. You know what sort of number that you have. So instead of, you know, too low or too high, so you're having a negotiation here. It shows maturity. So that's my take. What do you think, Jazol?
Yeah,
Did I pass the interview?
You raise a very interesting issue there. In fact, you know, those coming, especially fresh grad, like we say, those are Gen Y and Gen Z, right? And then the panels are Gen X. so Gen Y and Gen Z, especially Gen Z, they are so direct. So they will ask straight away to the face, so how much are you offering me?
Yes.
So of course, you have, you know, somehow rather, you know, this especially Gen Z who's coming into the job market. These people, they have to be trained, you know, and not to be so direct, especially when your panels are even if your panel are baby boomers, they're even worse.
Yeah.
So this, in fact, now interview also require, you know, some kind of skill before you go for interview. So otherwise, you know, you will not answer it correctly, and you're not. It's quite difficult for you to land a job that you know, you wish that you want to you wish for lah. So that's very interesting.
Yeah. So usually, Sumati, I'm just recapping. You know, those sensitive questions needs to be reserved towards the end after the selling bit, and that's where the negotiation skills needs to kick in. To find out a little bit more, you know, whether there's any fit in terms of anything.
I think wondering, can a candidate ask for like what is my career progression going to be? Will I be sent for trainings? What kind of trainings do I have to undergo to perform this work, this task? Will I be relocated? You know, I mean, you can ask those questions. And like what is that for salary? May I know what is the salary package like? You know, so put it in a nice way, and like what is it? Bring it to the last part. Yeah, because it is important, but we don't want to sound.
It is important.
It is important.
It is.
And and I think like what we spoke much earlier is like, don't overpromise. Like if they have issues traveling to work, it's too far from home and they may not get in time to work, then you have to be upfront about it and, you know, discuss these things. It's very important as well. One last question. This is from Patrick Pan. He's actually a final year student, and you may have seen his post on LinkedIn too. Patrick actually does virtual trainings on resume writing, And he also coaches fresh graduates and final year students on doing branding on LinkedIn. And this is a final year student, all right? He's got two questions.
Oh, okay.
He says, I would like to address this question to Encik Che Zulhaimee. On behalf of final year students, I'd like to ask, during this tough situation, especially to the economy, how can a student ace the interview if he or she has no experience, right? What can he or she do in order to ace the upcoming interview?
Well, very interesting question. In fact, well, of course, we thought earlier MCO only 2 weeks, but then now it's going. It's been almost around 1 month. But I believe that during this period, of course, there's a lot of things that we can do during MCO period. But some of us attended a lot of webinar. Even some of us attending some online certification programs, which I think these are the added advantage, or you be stand out among other candidates. If you have everybody have the same qualification, like a degree or diploma, but if you have certificate like safety certification and other certification, counseling certification, or whatever certification that's offered available online, I think that will be a good plus point to the candidate, because of course, what else can you do when you are at home right now again? So spend a lot of good quality times and try to learn a lot of things, try to acquire a lot of knowledge, skill. In fact, the best thing is, as a student, there's a lot of free webinar, free online training right now. There's a lot everywhere. So that would at least show that how the kind of person you are. You like to develop yourself, even though without a lecture or classroom, you manage to with self motivation. You go for this kind of program and certification online, which well, of course, certification programs might they might charge you, but for online or webinar that would develop some of the skill, I think is mostly are now free online, so it's readily available. So make use of the time during the MCO. So improve, because whatever you learn in classroom, especially shared by experienced person, will be very beneficial, especially you want to go. Of course, you want to go for in a job market. You want to go for interview.
Okay, so what I would like to say is this. So on top of what Encik Zul had shared, perhaps fresh grads can gather a few friends to come together and approach a few experts or subject matter experts or trusted network within LinkedIn, to teach or to talk, to share 45 minutes, 1 hour of their time in a week on specific topic. How do I write resume? How do I manage whatever, how do I answer this question? How do I sit in interview? That's a hands-on approach. And what it will do is that you'll be seen as a leadership of sort, playing the role of putting people together, friends together, and, learning something. I think our network definitely is not lacking in terms of subject matter expert. It's just a matter of reaching out to them. And I think this is very doable.
Yeah, I agree. That would be very something, yeah. Okay.
So
something doable, yes?
Yeah.
Doable.
And I think they got to use this time, this MCO time, productively as well, because I'm very sure post MCO, one of the top questions is going to be, what did you learn during the MCO?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How was
That will
it?
be a favorite question.
What did you learn? So they need to come up with, 3 solid points and substantiated with good examples, good explanation, right? So that's very important. It's like a soalan bocho. It's surely going to come.
Ya, soalan bocor. Yes, betul, betul. It's soalan bocor. And Sumarti, just adding on to that, one of the things that people tend to kind of forget during this time, because we're doing it now for 2-3 weeks, is how do you attend? How do you perform best in virtual interview session? Because you can go out, you can go to office, so people tend to do their first vetting on the phone, face to face, like through Zoom. So I think it's worth exploring, reading out. There's ample information out there to prepare yourself to do this. And I think there's no harm in reaching out to friends, network, in your LinkedIn to ask, what do you think?
Yeah.
This is an uncharted time where people are linked together. I mean, how do we know, that we have this lockdown, but we don't. So I suppose we learn through each other, through network.
Yeah.
That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, and I think some companies are also like doing shortlisting through phone interviews.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
again,
Yeah.
the tips for the candidates is to be prepared with the questions, the frequently asked questions.
Absolutely.
Like I have interviewed someone over the phone because I didn't want her to spend so much of time, and we don't know what kind of candidate we're going to get. So when I spoke to this person over the phone, I just said, can you tell me something about yourself? And she was already fumbling so much. And I said, what did you study in college? She said she did communication, a degree in communication. I said, what exactly did you learn? Because I'm very, it's a degree in communication. I said, my minor was in communication. Can you tell me more about it? And she actually had problem explaining about that. And I was very worried for her, and I was thinking, like, for 4 years you studied and you couldn't tell me what, I mean, in a like make an elevator pitch, like what was the program about? Yeah. So
right.
I think a lot of people take it for granted, but these are important things.
Yes.
Like, you have to create a good impression, whether it's over the phone or whether it's through Zoom interviews,
absolutely,
face to face. All these things need to be prepared. Yeah.
Yes, totally agree with you. And this is, like I say, this is an uncharted moment for a lot of people, even for companies. They, if before this they have not really done their first vetting through, virtually, this is the time. How do you do that? When you can't see, you don't see, a face to face. How do you do that? So this is also a learning curve for everyone. I think everyone goes through some form of tuition during this period. Employer and candidates alike. Even for us, even for me, is like more. A better angle, for instance, like this, so it's visually appealing instead of just sitting at one corner and having sunlight from one corner. So it's all about learning curve, whether we want to improve ourselves during this time. There's just so many things.
Yeah. So so going back to Patrick's question, for fresh graduates who don't have experience, I think they have to rely on their final year project. So they really have to emphasize on what are the things they learned during their final year project. They need to, like what we spoke earlier, have some slides to show what they did. And also, and also like be a little bit more active on LinkedIn, learn from others, like what you said, Hanie, learn from others, spruce up a little bit on their LinkedIn profile.
Yeah. Oh yes. Yes.
And
in fact, it's important. I don't know. Hopefully, it's not too late, especially for the final year student, because whatever involvement, as mentioned by Hanie earlier, in the NGO or in any other committee or whatever involvement earlier, actually that counts. That also counted for. That also can be referred to as the exposure and experience.
Absolutely.
Not necessarily working experience.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. I mean, it's understood that fresh grads doesn't carry with them years of experience, but that also begets another question. They will say, hey, you know what? I'm a fresh grad, but some of the requirement wants minimum 1 year or 2 years. I think this should not be a hurdle for a candidate to apply. It's just one requirement that does not fit versus the other requirement that you have. So it should not be a hurdle not to apply for a post. Okay. If you can justify why you should be considered, Che Zul, if you can justify the reason why you should be there and should be considered, you need to put your case. You need to put your case, even though you don't have this necessary 1-2 years experience, but you are resourceful, you're a team player, and demonstrate that you've done this throughout your university years. Just tons of things that you can articulate it so well that, and most of the time they do not say this, they think that it's insignificant. That is, I hope that fresh grads will have this change of mindset to say that, hey, you know what, I spent a good time in my uni years. I've learned a lot, and I'm so eager now to bring all of this to the organization. Yeah,
I think when I spoke to Encik Ishak, this is what he said, which was lacking in most of the resumes, that people forget to include their achievements and accomplishments. So this needs to be mentioned during the interviews as well, especially the most significant ones need to be mentioned during the interview. Yeah, because this is the time for you to market yourself, to sell yourself, right? You want the job, you want to have the edge over the other candidate. So you just put everything on the table.
This is the time. Yeah, this is the time you want to masuk bakul angkat sendiri.
Angkat bakul sendiri, but don't brag.
I agree with you.
Don't want to show off, but not bragging too much. I have
not bragging too much. Yes.
Okay. And one last question, again from Patrick. Now the question is, interviewers will ask, can you share about something you are bad at or your weakness? If this question comes in during interview, am I supposed to share something which is really bad or share about good things in a negative way?
I think normally interview panel will not ask something bad about you. They will ask, as mentioned by during our first or second session just now, they will ask what is your weakness, and can you share with the panel what is your weakness, and the way to answer just recap here actually is to make sure that the most important thing actually is for you to know what is your weakness or weaknesses, and then how to overcome your weaknesses. So what have you done to overcome your weakness? Not just to understand or know that is your weakness and you don't do anything about it. So there's a lot of intervention that if that require support from others, then what support have you got? If that require some training or counseling, have you done that, and what's the outcome from the intervention that you have planned for yourself? If you need help from others, what help have you got from others? So that shows how you react to a problem rather than just I understand that's my weakness, then I just that's it. You're not doing anything. So that doesn't show a good example or a good behavior to the panel.
Yep. I also think that sometimes the question may not be so direct as in what is your weakness. It may also comes out in a form of behavioral question or situational question. Example, the panel or the interviewer will ask a question in terms of time management. So they will ask a situation where it involves managing time if there are so many tasks on someone's plate. And you kind of know that this is not your best traits, but you know that what you've done before to manage this, and you need to articulate how you've managed it. So it comes back to the same, except that the way of questioning is a little bit different, and the way to answer it is a little bit different as well. So, you know, just like Encik Zul said, you need to know what is your what are your areas of improvement and what you've done about it. Basically, that's it. It's not so much about, you know, telling how bad you are with time management, but what you've done to mitigate this. Yeah.
Okay, so we've answered all the questions from the queries made by our fresh graduates and also those who are working, I believe. I would like to thank both Hanie and Encik Zulhaimee for spending your time here with almost 2 hours here. But before we go, I would like to ask a few things. If there are if there is anyone who's interested or who would like to get in touch with you to seek your advice, what would you tell them?
For me, first and foremost, get connected with me on LinkedIn, obviously, and just specifically ask what you're looking for. Sometimes, you know, getting about the bush is not so good. So just give me bullet points, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we'll see how we can take up from there. Happy to help.
Yeah, I think no issue. They can, if anyone wants to contact, they can always contact me through LinkedIn. So they can message me, private message, and then you know, normally I will respond to them. Maybe not immediate, but definitely I will respond to them. And I think lastly I would my advice to the fresh graduate actually is, you know, do good to your parents, do good to your lecturers, do good to your teachers, you know, primary school, secondary school, because dua from these people actually are very important for you in your future. So not to say that they want your money, but they but they want you, you know, to show your gratitude to them, and especially your parents. If you even if you have you know, the first job actually is very important. Just allocate some, you know, some budget, you know, to belanja your parents makan, you know, and make them happy, because it's very important for me. It's very, because why? If you see from the successful people also, what they say that the common things among the successful people actually is they always sedekah, they always contribute, they always donate. You know, maybe we don't know. We thought that now those successful, they were not doing anything, but actually they're doing a lot of things which we don't know. But as I mentioned, from what I've come across, all those successful people actually they do a lot of sedekah. So that's another thing that I would like to highlight to me as well as to those graduates. Thank you.
Hanie? Be grateful. Be grateful for, you know, for whatever it is. You've worked hard. For those fresh grads, you know that you've put a lot of hours throughout the years in the university, so be proud of it. And those who are not so fresh grads anymore, do believe that there's always silver lining towards the end of this, you know, darkness, whatever you want to call it. there's always opportunity somewhere. There's always your rezeki somewhere. So, you know, just like Encik Zul said, you may not fit into a certain role or a certain company, but for everything that you've done during the interview, you go back and do self-reflection, and that would be the hardest conversation you ever have. But there's always opportunity somewhere. So, you know, it's okay to mourn about it. It's okay to be sad about it. You're allowed to do so, you know, but don't go overboard. It's not the end of the world. There are so many others who are just so in despair that they don't see the need to go on with life. So don't go into that route if you think that you need help in whatever ways, you know, mental wellness. If you're feeling depressed, there's so many there's so many channels to reach out. You know, I know for a fact for the past few years there's so many depression in our fresh grads, you know, up to suicidal tendencies and all that. It's okay to acknowledge that you are depressed, you know, because, you know, the job market is tough. Fine. Don't be too choosy as well, because, you know, you need to manage what works for you. Are you hungry for learning, or you have to put food on the table first? But all these things considered, when you go in, you need to know what you're going into with your eyes open. So, you know, try to keep positive and talk and reach out if you need help.
Yeah.
And be it, you know, yeah, reach out.
So there you have. Thank you so much, Hanie and Encik Zul.
Thank you.
Both of them are very, very eager to help you. And if any of you have any questions, do contact us, do write in the comment section. And we will still answer your questions. And we wish you all the best. We wish you all the best. And look out for the next video that I'm going to make, which is on grooming tips for job seekers. That is the third section.
Yeah. Fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you, Encik Zul.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Mati, for hosting this session. It's a great session. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.